All right, let's talk about that moment. You know the one. Someone asks you for a favor, a commitment, anything, and the word yes just kind of falls out of your mouth. And right after, that sinking feeling hits. It happened again. Well, we're going to get into what's really going on in that moment and why just deciding to be different has never been enough to stop it.
And that's the part that's so maddening, isn't it? It's not a surprise. It's this quiet, awful recognition. Something deep inside you felt it coming, knew the weight of it, and you heard yourself say yes anyway. This isn't about being weak. It's not about not trying hard enough. No, it's something way, way deeper than that.
And this whole cycle leads to a very specific kind of shame. You could almost call it a meta-shame. See, it's not the normal shame of not knowing any better. It's the shame that comes from knowing exactly what you wanted to do, what you should do, and still being totally unable to do it when it counts.
I mean, that's the deep frustration of it all, right? You've read the books, maybe you've even practiced saying no in the mirror. You've made a genuine, heartfelt decision, probably more than once, that this time will be different. And yet, there you are, sitting in your car after the conversation, just replaying it and wondering how it all went sideways again.
So what happens is, over time, this pattern starts to do something really insidious. It starts building a case. Not some big, dramatic trial, but a quiet, slow accumulation of evidence. Every single one of those unwanted yeses becomes another exhibit in a secret case you're building against yourself.
And here's the crucial part. The conclusion you end up drawing isn't, oh, I have a bad habit I need to work on. No, the verdict from that evidence file you've been keeping says something much, much harsher. It says there is something fundamentally wrong with me. It stops feeling like a behavior you can change and starts feeling like a core, unfixable flaw in who you are. So let's just pause here for a second. Before we go any further, I want you to really consider this question. What if that entire case, all this so-called evidence of your failure, is built on a simple, factual error? And I don't mean just a kind reframe to make you feel better. I mean a genuine, biological misunderstanding of the mechanics of what's happening inside your own body. Because here's the thing. What's happening in that split second before you say yes, it has a name. And it's not a character flaw. It's a neurological survival program. It's called the fawn response. And truly understanding this is the key to finally throwing out that case against yourself for good. So what is it really? Well, you've heard of fight, flight, or freeze, right? Fawn is right there with them. It's an automatic program that your nervous system runs when it senses a threat. And that threat could be as simple as a disappointed tone of voice, or even just the fear of disappointing someone. Your nervous system doesn't stop to ask your opinion. It just runs the program that says, agree, accommodate, smooth things over, now.
And this is the most important reframe you can make. The yes that you hate, the one that causes you so much pain, it isn't the problem. It was, at one point, the solution. It's an old, outdated survival program that your system learned probably a very long time ago because it worked. It kept you safe. It prevented conflict. It earned you the approval you needed. It was an adaptation, not a failure.
Okay, so let's get into the practical science of why this is so hard to change. Because maybe you've heard of the fawn response before, but just knowing the name didn't really change anything. And there's a really good reason for that. See, the response doesn't come from the part of your brain that knows things. You just can't override a survival instinct with a simple decision, because they live in completely different neighborhoods in your brain. The myth is that you're making a conscious choice with your logical, thinking brain, your prefrontal cortex. But the reality? Your amygdala, your brain's super-fast smoke detector, has already sensed a threat and yanked the fire alarm before your conscious mind even smells the smoke. And this whole sequence happens in a flash. Step 1, a threat is perceived. Step 2, the amygdala fires. Step 3, the fawn sequence, that deep impulse to agree and make things okay, kicks in automatically. And only then, way at the end, does your conscious brain finally catch up and go, wait, what's happening? By then, the yes is already out there. It's too late. So here's the bottom line. Every single time you failed to say no, you were trying to use willpower to stop a biological process that is, by its very design, faster than your conscious thought. This has nothing to do with self-discipline. It's not a moral failure. It's an anatomy problem. You're simply bringing the wrong tool to the job. So, okay, if willpower and just deciding are the wrong tools, then
What's the right one? What can we actually do about this? Well, the answer is something much smaller and way more effective. It all starts by shifting our focus to a much, much earlier point in that sequence. The real place to do the work isn't trying to wrestle the yes back into your mouth as it's coming out. By then, it's already over. The real territory for change, the real sweet spot, is in that tiny, almost invisible moment that happens right before the automatic compliance program kicks in. There's a subtle physical signal.
And these are the kinds of things you want to start looking for. It's not some big dramatic event. It's a flicker. It's a brief moment of inner stillness, maybe a little tightening in your chest or your gut. It's that feeling of your whole body bracing itself, that instant where something inside you just goes quiet right before it gives in. That is the freeze that comes before the fawn.
And listen, this is the most important part. At first, the goal is not to stop the yes. Don't even try. The only goal is to notice that moment of freezing. That's it. You see, survival responses are most powerful when they run in the dark, below our awareness. The simple act of noticing, of just saying to yourself, oh, there it is, it creates a tiny crack of light, a tiny gap that just wasn't there before.
And when you start to work at this level, that whole case you built against yourself just collapses. The evidence completely flips. In the old view, every unwanted yes was more proof of your personal weakness. But with this new understanding, every single yes becomes proof of a nervous system that is incredibly good at its original job, the job of protecting you, based on rules it learned a long, long time ago.
So that tiny moment of freezing, that slight tightening you feel before you agree, that is not a sign of failure. It is not nothing. That moment is your way in. It's where the real work begins. It's the space where, slowly, over time, you can begin to reclaim choice from pure instinct. That tiny moment, that is where you live now.